My name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey, and I married a Childers. Both twins, Carl and Peggy, were dead. Their mother, Lina Dempsey, had killed them. They were born out of wedlock. So I grew up in this, all I can say, it's a hellhole. And later in 83, I found out my real identity. I'd become a candidate to replace Congressman Larry McDonald, who I had written about in a medical malpractice book about mind control. But anyway, I was flown out to Flint, who was helping me in that campaign. And it was a little bit later I found out about my kidnapping, and my father's, the real King Edward VIII, who was married to my mom, Wallace, not Wallace, Warfield Simpson. An imposter married her. But that's the way history has left it. It's never been corrected. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. They were born in Madison, Wisconsin, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. So the double was used. My uncle, George VI, helped the Roosevelts, the Kennedy. Joseph Kennedy was ambassador during that time, 36 to 46. And he's the father of John and Bobby. And that's the reason they won't tell about John Kennedy, the truth about it, because it would have to come back to telling about me and Queen Victoria II, the legal heir, and the takeover of the British Crown by the Americans who installed George and Elizabeth illegal. And it's the treaties and the fact that they allowed the United States to place, and it was all illegal, their bases all over British soil and use it as a launching pad to conquer the world, which the New World Order is in place, the Freemasons, the New World Order, and that is Elizabeth and Charles. They have been photographed over and over as secret meetings, and you can't get into it. But anyway, now then, I wanted to I wrote about the mind control murders, programming people to shoot and kill or do anything you want them to. You can control their decision making. You can make theirs appear of natural cause, make it look like it's suicide, etc. So you can do anything with it. Now then, I wanted to show these things, and then I'll end with this other. I wanted to show the Larry Flint because the person who shot him in Lawrenceville, Georgia, in March the 6th of '78, while I was doing the book at Moonraker Apartments, which, by the way, in Marietta had been previously owned by Penthouse, and at the time I was living there, it was owned by the Mormon Church out of Utah. Now, here is where Larry Flint endorsed me in April '84 Hustler. And in it, he says that I know who was responsible for his shooting. Okay, I just showed an article from Canada to Crazy Barton that was in the Atlanta Journal Saturday, November the 26th of '94. Showed a picture of me before and after. It was written by Kathy Alexander, staff writer. In essence, they tell about me being flown out to Flint, and then they, in essence, they lie. They tell about Flint writing the editorial and the rest of it's a lie. And this is the way I've been made out to appear, living as a bag lady on the Appalachian Trail, starving, freezing, telling about the mind control murders, and about my kidnapping, and that's the part that nobody wants to hear. Um, so here is my uncle, George, with Roosevelt in 39, the year I was born. I was kidnapped in 41. Now, I just showed you the double. I showed you my father, King Edward VIII. I showed you the double that married Wallace Simpson. And 9 years still put on my father's illegal removal and the lies in my birth and my heritage. And I showed you a picture of Elizabeth, his illegal monarch. And I want to show you JFK that's coming up. I want to show you Caroline Kennedy with Obama, and she's an ambassador. Now then, I just want to show you a couple of the mind control murders that fit into patterns, and they can be proven. This is Yen Zoring, and it's next door in Bedford. The murders happened April of '85. They're in prison. He's in Buckingham, Virginia State, and Elizabeth is in Goochland, and they're innocent. It's a mind control murder that fits into patterns. And this is just one of this is Aurora, Colorado, the Century 16 movie theater, and James Holmes. And all of this is treated like it's mental illness, or most of it is, if they don't end up shooting themselves, like Virginia Tech, the 33, and the shooter shot himself. He was under mind control to do it. And so the Supreme Court in Virginia says he's just a deranged person. I don't know anyone around here that doesn't know the truth. So they let you know how it's going. He's been treated for mental illness. He's under mind control. One has nothing to do with the other than it's the most hideous thing to treat a person for a non-existent illness and torture them with psychotic drugs. Now, I'm going to show you Yen's. Now, I wanted to, so that I can get this in, I think, I wanted to mention some things in here while I can still have a few minutes, I hope. I wrote the book, and it was medical malpractice about mind control. And I wrote it in 77, 78, and then April the 1st of 80, I had antifreeze put in me and should have died. Instead, I ended up across the state line, illegally taken, and I did end up working for Fred Simpson, the district attorney there. So I'm going to go back to June the 23rd of 79. I got a letter from the U.S. Attorney, William Harper, about an ongoing FBI investigation, national security involved. Now then, maybe I said that. Now, I had been sending my manuscript to Ravel, which it went before their board, but I would send it out and nobody would touch it. I sent it finally to Playboy Press. And my husband had contacted Playboy and Arthur Kretschmer, who I look at back just to make sure. He was associate director, editorial director, etc. Now, I did speak with him when I was living at Moonraker, and his words were that he had turned it over to an attorney, and they were going to investigate. Now, I didn't know about my kidnapping. This was about the book and all the harassment and hell that was going on. So then I'm going to jump ahead because I had sent the book to Playboy Press since nobody else would touch it. Now then, you've got the plane crash, May the 25th. I want you to listen to the date of 79. And this was members of the Playboy editorial staff. They were en route from Chicago to L.A., and all aboard that, it had just taken off at O'Hara, were killed. Now then, I wanted to address then, remember that I had written the book about Larry McDonald and a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd. Now you've got some years later, and I'm skipping the hell and the antifreeze and all that went into me. This is Dr. Larry McDonald, one of them I wrote about, Congressman. The Korean jet KAL-007 from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea, supposedly veered off course, and the Soviets shot it down, a MiG. 269 passengers all aboard were killed, along with Congressman Lawrence. And by the way, they've used crypts and patterns. Lawrence, as in Larry Flynn or Lawrence, is Lawrence County, Alabama, where they took me and dropped me off at Moulton. Now then, someone raised the question nobody ever had, because I'm the only one that really knew this back in '83. Was Larry McDonald really aboard the plane? Because Nixon had been aboard it, and he was removed in Juneau. Now, someone must have read what I've sent out and all this, because I just saw it in Wikipedia, and nobody else could even have thought that. So here you've got a doctor, congressman I've written about. You got the Playboy plane going down. I've told you about mind control. It can be used on a pilot. It can be used on someone, and they don't even know they're sabotaging the plane. So now I want to go to one more thing, if I can get this uploaded. To me, I don't remember this quite the way it's in Wikipedia, but I will say that Corazon Aquino became president of the Philippines. I thought it was her husband that came to D.C. earlier and got off the plane and was shot then. But my point is that he came to get the removal of American bases from Philippine soil. And I'm looking at this. It says it was assassination of Aquino, and he was a senator. And then Corazon Aquino became president. Anyway, he was shot, and his point was he was going to get the removal of American bases. Now then, this is what has allowed the United States to take over the world. They installed Elizabeth and her father, who worked for the American government, George VI. They took out my father, the legal monarch, and there is an addendum, and it's all legal, that I am the heir, Victoria II. Now then, you put it together. If there's any way in hell, and I'll say that, you know that I don't sanction the takeover of my government. So you can go from there. How do you evict the United States from British soil?